The vast emptiness of space surrounded the United Earth diplomatic vessel Odyssey as it drifted to a halt at the coordinates specified in the alien transmission. Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she stared at the viewscreen. 25 years of space exploration had prepared her for many things, but nothing quite like this. The ship's sensors detected the approaching alien vessel long before it became visible. A massive structure nearly 5 times the size of the Odyssey, its hull composed of an intricate lattice of what appeared to be living metal that pulsed with internal light. "Status report," Vasquez said, her voice calm despite the tension that filled the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Jax Rodriguez, tactical officer, responded without taking his eyes off his console. "Their weapon systems are active but not targeting us. Energy readings suggest defensive posture only." Communications. Dr. Marcus Chen, the ship's chief xenolinguist, looked up from his station. His eyes gleamed with excitement behind specialized neural interface glasses. "Translation matrix is calibrated to the best of our abilities, Captain. Based on the transmissions we've intercepted, I believe we can achieve approximately 87% comprehension." Vasquez nodded. This would be humanity's first official contact with the Sulfuri Collective, a species that had been observing Earth from afar for decades. Intelligence suggested they possessed technology centuries beyond human capabilities, having mastered both faster-than-light travel and matter reconfiguration. Their message had been unexpected but clear. "Meet at these coordinates, alone." "Open a channel," Vasquez ordered. The view screen flickered, revealing a being unlike anything in Earth's biological catalog. The Sulfuri representative possessed a translucent exoskeleton through which complex internal structures pulsed with bioluminescent light. Multiple sensory appendages framed what appeared to be a central processing cluster, but no recognizable face or expression could be discerned. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earth vessel Odyssey. We come in peace and seek open dialogue between our civilizations." Her words were calculated, rehearsed, and delivered with diplomatic precision. The response came after several moments of silence. The Sulfuri's voice was synthesized through the translation matrix, creating an eerie multi-tonal effect. "Your approach is unexpected, human vessel. Our analysis of your species predicted aggressive posturing or immediate retreat. Your communication style contradicts our data sets." Vasquez exchanged a quick glance with Dr. Chen before responding. "Perhaps your data is incomplete. Humanity values peaceful exchange and mutual understanding when possible." The Sulfuri's appendages rippled in what Dr. Chen would later identify as their equivalent of surprise. "We have monitored your transmission signals for decades. Your entertainment programs, news broadcasts, and military communications suggest a species predisposed to conflict when confronted with the unknown." Vasquez couldn't suppress a small smile. "You've been watching our media. Then you've observed only one facet of humanity. Our stories often explore conflict because we find it dramatic, not because it defines us." The alien representative remained silent for a moment. When it spoke again, its tone carried a different resonance. "Your vessel is significantly outmatched by our capabilities, yet you offer dialogue instead of displaying fear. This contradicts predictive models." "Fear doesn't preclude conversation," Vasquez replied. "And technological superiority doesn't necessarily imply hostility. We prefer to establish understanding before making judgments." The bridge crew remained perfectly still, aware of the historical significance of this exchange. Humanity's first official contact with an advanced alien civilization was unfolding not as a confrontation, but as a conversation, something few had anticipated given the militaristic preparations that had dominated Earth's space program for the past century. The Sulfuri's next statement contained something that the translation matrix interpreted as curiosity. "You wish to negotiate. What terms would you propose when you have no leverage?" Dr. Chen moved closer to Vasquez, whispering, "Captain, I believe they're testing us. Their communication patterns suggest they're evaluating our diplomatic approach rather than our military capability." Vasquez nodded slightly. We don't view this encounter as requiring leverage, but rather as an opportunity for mutual discovery. Both our civilizations have knowledge and perspectives that could benefit the other. We propose an exchange, not of power, but of understanding. The Xalthori representatives' bioluminescent patterns shifted rapidly. The translation matrix struggled to interpret what appeared to be internal communication among different parts of the collective consciousness. You will send representatives aboard our vessel to continue this dialogue. It wasn't a request. Vasquez maintained her composure, knowing that this moment would define humanity's position in the galaxy for generations to come. We would be honored to continue our discussion, but protocol suggests a neutral location or a mutual exchange of representatives would build greater trust between our species. Another long silence followed. The bridge crew exchanged tense glances. Lieutenant Rodriguez's hand hovered near the tactical controls, though everyone knew their weapons would be useless against the alien technology. Unprecedented, the Xalthori finally responded. Your species continues to defy prediction algorithms. We will establish a mutual exchange. 3 representatives from each civilization. Your vessel will dock with our primary communication node. After the transmission ended, the bridge erupted into hushed conversations. Dr. Chen approached the captain, his expression a mixture of excitement and concern. Captain, this is extraordinary. The Xalthori are known to be hierarchical and dismissive of less advanced species. Their willingness to negotiate suggests either immense curiosity or, he hesitated. Or what, Doctor? Vasquez prompted. Or they need something from us that their technology cannot provide. The docking procedure took nearly 3 hours as the Odyssey's computer systems interfaced with the alien technology. Captain Vasquez selected her diplomatic team carefully. Herself, Dr. Chen for linguistic and cultural expertise, and Dr. Amara Okafor, the ship's exobiologist whose understanding of non-terrestrial life forms might prove invaluable. The Xalthori docking chamber defied conventional architecture. The walls seemed alive, shifting subtly as if breathing. Light emanated not from fixtures but from the structure itself, creating an environment that seemed designed to disorient human sensory perception. 3 Xalthori representatives awaited them. Up close, the aliens were even more alien than the viewscreen had conveyed. Each stood approximately 2 meters tall, their translucent bodies revealing complex internal structures that pulsed with rhythmic bioluminescence. What had appeared to be appendages were actually sensory organs that continuously shifted position, analyzing their surroundings from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Dr. Chen's translation device worked furiously to convert the complex harmonics of Xalthori communication into comprehensible English. "Your physical forms are inefficient," was the first translated statement from the lead Xalthori representative. "Your sensory capabilities limited. Yet you have achieved space travel and developed communication systems that approach coherence." Vasquez recognized the statement not as an insult, but as an observation. Different evolutionary paths lead to different adaptations. Our species has compensated for physical limitations through cooperation and technology. The Xalthori's internal lights pulsed rapidly. Cooperation. This concept requires further examination. Our data suggests humans often engage in conflict among themselves. Conflict and cooperation exist in balance within human society, Dr. Okafor interjected. Both have driven our evolution and technological advancement. The lead Xalthori shifted its sensory organs toward the human scientist. Your species' capacity for both behaviors creates unpredictable outcomes. This is why conventional protocols were deemed insufficient for this encounter. Dr. Chen's eyes widened behind his neural interface. "You've encountered other species before us." 17 distinct, sentient species, came the immediate response. All followed predictable response patterns when confronted with technological superiority. None proposed negotiation as a first option. Vasquez saw an opportunity. Then perhaps we can offer perspective that others could not. Different problems require different approaches. The Xalthori representatives communicated among themselves in frequencies beyond human hearing range. Dr. Chen's interface detected the exchange, but could not translate it. Finally, the lead representative addressed the humans again. We will share information regarding a situation that affects both our civilizations. Your response will determine whether humans are capable of meaningful cooperation or merely tactical posturing. A three-dimensional holographic display materialized between them, showing a region of space near the outer boundaries of both human and Sulfuri territories. At first, the image appeared to show empty space, but as the resolution increased, tiny particles became visible, particles that seemed to be consuming the very fabric of space-time. Void microbes, the Sulfuri explained. A non-sentient organism that consumes matter and energy, converting it to a state inaccessible to either of our technologies. They are spreading toward both our territories at an accelerating rate. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic protocol. How do they propagate? What's their life cycle? They exist partially outside conventional space-time. Our attempts to eradicate them have failed. Their propagation accelerates when exposed to high-energy weapons. Captain Vasquez studied the hologram carefully. And you believe humans might have a solution your technology cannot provide. The Sulfuri's lights pulsed in a pattern that Dr. Chen would later identify as their equivalent of reluctant acknowledgement. Your species approaches problems through unconventional pathways. Your solutions often appear irrational yet occasionally effective. Our predictive models cannot determine whether this trait will prove valuable or catastrophic. Vasquez understood the implication immediately. The Sulfuri had not called this meeting to establish diplomatic relations. They were testing humanity's problem-solving capabilities in the face of a threat their advanced technology couldn't address. You want us to help you solve this problem, Vasquez stated. Yet you approached us with a display of superior force rather than a straightforward request for assistance. Correct. The Sulfuri made no attempt to disguise this fact. Your species responds unpredictably to perceived threats. We needed to observe your reaction under pressure. Dr. Chen whispered to Vasquez, Captain, I believe this is actually a compliment. They recognize something valuable in our approach that their technology and evolutionary path haven't provided. Vasquez nodded slowly, then addressed the Sulfuri. We would be willing to collaborate on addressing this threat, but true collaboration requires mutual respect and transparent exchange of information, not tests or manipulation. The lead Sulfuri's bioluminescence shifted to a pattern never before recorded in their observations. Transparency, another concept requiring examination. Our civilization operates on precision and predictability. Yours thrives on adaptation and improvisation. A cooperation between such fundamentally different approaches has no precedent. Then we'll establish one, Vasquez replied with quiet confidence. Starting now. The Sulfuri representatives communicated among themselves again, this time for several minutes. When they finished, their spokesperson addressed the humans once more. We propose the Joint Research Initiative. Your scientists will work with our collective intelligence to develop a solution to the void microbe expansion. In exchange, we will share technological knowledge that your civilization would otherwise require centuries to develop. Dr. Okafor could barely contain her excitement. Access to Sulfuri technology could revolutionize human medicine, energy production, and weaponry, the Sulfuri added bluntly. This is the paradox of your species that creates uncertainty in our models. Will you use advanced knowledge for development or destruction? That's always our choice, Vasquez answered honestly, just as it's yours. Technology itself is neutral. It's the application that defines its impact. The Sulfuri representatives exhibited their equivalent of surprise once more. You acknowledge this duality openly. Other species attempt to conceal such intentions. Honesty forms the foundation of meaningful negotiation, Vasquez replied. We recognize our capacity for both creation and destruction. Our history contains examples of both. But we're here because we choose cooperation over conflict when possible. As the meeting continued, Dr. Chen observed the subtle shifts in Sulfuri communication patterns. What had begun as clinical observation was evolving into something resembling genuine exchange. Humanity's first contact was unfolding not through the barrel of a gun or displays of technological might, but through something the Xalfori found far more alien, a willingness to acknowledge weakness while offering strength, to recognize difference while seeking common ground. By the time the human delegation prepared to return to the Odyssey, preliminary agreements had been established for a joint research initiative, the first cooperative venture between humans and an advanced alien civilization. As they departed, the lead Xalfori representative offered a final observation. By the time the human delegation prepared to return to the Odyssey, preliminary agreements had been established for a joint research initiative, the first cooperative venture between humans and an advanced alien civilization. As they departed, the lead Xalfori representative offered a final observation. Your negotiation approach defies optimization algorithms. It is inefficient yet effective. We will continue to study this paradox while our civilizations work to address the common threat. Captain Vasquez smiled slightly. That's humanity in a nutshell, I suppose. We look forward to learning from your efficiency, just as you might learn from our adaptability. As the airlock closed behind them, Dr. Chen turned to the captain. They're completely baffled by us, you know. Their entire civilization is built on predictable outcomes and logical progression. The fact that we can hold contradicting ideas simultaneously and still function coherently is almost incomprehensible to them. And that, Vasquez replied, may be humanity's greatest strength in a universe far stranger than we ever imagined. 2 Earth weeks had passed since the initial contact with the Xalfori collective. The Odyssey now orbited a neutral research station, hastily constructed at the edge of the expanding void microbe territory. Inside the station, human scientists worked alongside Xalfori specialists in an unprecedented collaboration that tested the limits of both species' patience and understanding. Captain Elena Vasquez observed the main research chamber from an elevated platform. Below, Dr. Amara Okafor hunched over a microscope-like device that the Xalfori had provided, studying void microbe samples contained within specialized quantum fields. Nearby, Dr. Marcus Chen engaged in what appeared to be an intense debate with 3 Xalfori representatives, his translation device working overtime to keep pace with their multi-layered communication. Remarkable progress, commented Commander Tori Nakamura, who had joined the captain on the observation deck. Though I can't tell if they're collaborating or arguing. With Dr. Chen, it's often both simultaneously, Vasquez replied with a hint of a smile. The Xalfori find his communication style particularly challenging. That was an understatement. The Xalfori operated on precise, linear communication protocols. Dr. Chen's tendency to use metaphors, hypotheticals, and intuitive leaps confused and occasionally frustrated them. Yet those same qualities had already led to several breakthroughs in understanding the void microbe's unusual properties. Status report, Vasquez asked as she turned away from the viewing window. Nakamura activated her datapad. The void microbes continue to spread, but at a slower rate than initially projected. Our combined sensor network has identified 3 distinct propagation patterns that weren't visible to either our technology or theirs alone. And the joint containment proposal. The Xalfori High Collective rejected our initial design, Nakamura said with a frown. They called it unnecessarily complex and reliant on unpredictable variables. Vasquez had anticipated this response. The Xalfori civilization had evolved around predictability and precision. Their technology was incredibly advanced, but followed rigid, predetermined pathways. Human approaches, adaptable, redundant, sometimes deliberately overcomplicated, seemed chaotic and inefficient to them. Have Dr. Chen prepare another briefing. Emphasize that the unpredictable variables are exactly what make our approach valuable. The void microbes don't follow conventional physical laws. Our solution shouldn't either. As Nakamura departed, Vasquez's comm unit chimed with an incoming transmission from Earth. Admiral Santos's weathered face appeared on the small screen. Captain, the Security Council is concerned about the pace of technology sharing. The Xalfori have access to all our research data, but they're restricting our access to their quantum field manipulation techniques. Vasquez had been expecting this conversation. The Xalfori operate on earned trust, Admiral. They're measuring our responses carefully. Pushing for faster technology transfer would confirm their suspicion that we're primarily interested in acquiring their advances rather than solving the mutual threat. The Admiral's expression remained stern. Some council members see this as naive, Captain. The Xalfori could be manipulating us, using human creativity to solve their problem before discarding the relationship. That possibility exists, Vasquez acknowledged. But I believe they're genuinely curious about our approach. We represent something their evolutionary path hasn't produced. Adaptive problem solving that embraces uncertainty rather than eliminating it. Before the Admiral could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Vasquez ended the transmission with a quick "I'll report back" and hurried to the research chamber. She arrived to find chaos. One of the containment fields had failed, and a small cloud of void microbes hovered in the center of the room. The Xalfori researchers had backed against the wall, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in what Vasquez now recognized as alarm. Dr. Okafor stood surprisingly close to the microbe cloud, scanning it with a handheld device. "Status," Vasquez demanded. "Containment failure in Section 3, Dr. Okafor reported without looking up from her scanner. But the microbes are behaving differently than expected. They're not consuming the station materials." The lead Xalfori researcher, whom the humans had nicknamed Pulse due to its distinctive light patterns, approached Vasquez. "Your scientist is violating safety protocols. The microbes will consume organic matter if they detect bioelectrical activity." "Dr. Okafor," Vasquez called, "step back from the containment breach." "One moment, Captain," the exobiologist replied, her scientific curiosity overriding protocol. "I'm detecting something. They're responding to the station's electromagnetic field. They're not consuming it. They're resonating with it." Before Vasquez could order her to retreat, Dr. Okafor adjusted a setting on the station's environmental controls. The hovering cloud of void microbes pulsed once, then began to contract rather than expand. "They're sensitive to specific electromagnetic frequencies," Dr. Okafor explained, excitement evident in her voice. "This isn't consumption, it's communication." The Xalfori researchers moved forward cautiously, their sensory appendages extended toward the now stable microbe cloud. Pulse's translation came through with a tone of surprise. "This contradicts all previous data. Our containment strategies were based on isolation and neutralization." "Because you approached them as a threat to be eliminated," Dr. Chen interjected, joining the group. "We approached them as an unknown to be understood." "Unpredictable variables," Pulse replied, its lights pulsing in what Dr. Chen had come to recognize as their version of thoughtful consideration. "Human intuition has identified a pattern our analytics overlooked." Vasquez saw an opportunity in this moment of Xalfori acknowledgement. "Perhaps this demonstrates the value of our different approaches, your precision combined with our adaptability." Pulse's response was interrupted by another alarm, this one more urgent. The station's main view screen activated automatically, showing a massive Xalfori vessel approaching at high speed. Unlike the research vessels, this one's configuration clearly marked it as a warship. "Explain," Vasquez demanded, turning to Pulse. The Xalfori's lights dimmed slightly. The High Collective did not authorize this vessel's approach. Something is not functioning according to established protocols. The station's communication system activated. A Xalfori appeared on screen, its bioluminescent patterns sharper and more angular than those of the research team. The translation came through with a cold, artificial precision. "Research collaboration terminated. Human vessel will withdraw immediately. The contamination threat requires Xalfori resolution." Dr. Chen moved closer to Vasquez, speaking quietly. "Captain, those light patterns indicate extremist faction within the collective. The harmonics suggest they reject any cooperation with lesser species." Vasquez addressed the screen with calm authority. This research station was established through mutual agreement between our governments. We've just made a significant breakthrough in understanding the void microbes. Irrelevant, came the response. Primitive species cannot comprehend the complexity of the threat. Step aside or be eliminated. The transmission ended abruptly. Pulse and the other Sulfuri researchers communicated rapidly among themselves in frequencies beyond human hearing. They are dissidents, Pulse finally explained. A faction that believes cooperation with other species weakens the collective. They have temporarily overridden central authority protocols. How temporary is temporarily? Vasquez asked. Unknown. This fracture in consensus is unprecedented. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, still holding her scanner. Captain, we need to continue our research on the void microbes' response to electromagnetic fields. If they're attempting communication rather than consumption, we might be able to establish a form of control. We may not have time, Vasquez replied, checking the tactical display. The Sulfuri warship had taken position directly above the station. There is another option, Pulse said, its lights pulsing in a pattern that indicated significant internal conflict. I can provide access to the collective's internal communication network. You could address the governing consensus directly, bypassing the dissident faction. The humans exchanged surprised glances. Such access would provide unprecedented insight into Sulfuri civilization and technology, something they had not shared with any other species. Why would you offer this? Vasquez asked. Because your approach to the void microbes has demonstrated value our models did not predict, Pulse replied. The dissidents fear this unpredictability. I recognize its potential. Logic dictates preserving the most effective solution path, regardless of its origin. Vasquez nodded slowly. What would this communication entail? Your neural patterns must interface directly with the collective consciousness. It is invasive by human standards, but it would allow unfiltered communication with our decision-making consensus. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. Captain, this would be the first direct mind-to-mind contact between humans and an alien species. The risks are unknown but potentially significant. As are the benefits, Vasquez replied. She turned back to Pulse. Will this connection allow me to share the data Dr. Okafor has discovered about the void microbes? Yes. All neural content will be accessible to the collective. Vasquez made her decision. Prepare the interface. But I want Dr. Chen monitoring my neural activity throughout the process. As the Sulfuri prepared their connection technology, Vasquez contacted the Odyssey. Commander Rodriguez, if that warship makes any aggressive move toward the station, withdraw to a safe distance but remain within sensor range. Under no circumstances are you to engage in combat. That's a direct order. Understood, Captain, came the reluctant reply. But we won't leave you behind. The neural interface resembled a delicate crown of crystalline filaments. As Pulse positioned it on Vasquez's head, Dr. Chen monitored her vital signs, while Dr. Okafor transferred her research data to a neural-compatible format. This will not function like human communication, Pulse warned. The collective thinks in multidimensional concepts rather than linear language. Your mind will attempt to translate this into comprehensible patterns. Vasquez took a deep breath. I'm ready. The connection activated instantly. Vasquez gasped as her consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of her physical form. The Sulfuri collective existed as a vast, interconnected network of thought. Millions of individual perspectives unified into a coherent whole, yet maintaining distinct identities. She could sense the dissident faction as a discordant pattern within the greater harmony, a growing disturbance that threatened the balance of the entire system. Using the unfamiliar mental architecture of the collective, Vasquez projected Dr. Okafor's discovery about the void microbes, showing how the combined human-Sulfuri approach had revealed the microbes' communicative nature rather than merely their destructive capacity. The collective consciousness responded with a cascade of conceptual frameworks that Vasquez's mind translated into understanding. The dissidents feared human unpredictability because it represented chaos in their ordered existence. The void microbes presented a similar fear, an entity that defied categorization and control. Vasquez projected a new concept, adaptability as strength rather than weakness. She shared humanity's evolutionary history, how facing existential threats have forced humans to embrace change, to find value in diversity of thought, to see uncertainty not as a failure of understanding, but as an opportunity for growth. The connection deepened. Vasquez experienced the Salfori perspective, the beauty of perfect prediction, the comfort of absolute certainty, the horror of encountering phenomena that defied their models. In return, she shared the human experience, the creative potential of uncertainty, the strength found in facing the unknown, the power of intuitive leaps that bridges gaps in knowledge. When the connection finally ended, Vasquez collapsed into a waiting chair, her mind reeling from the experience. Dr. Chen supported her as she regained her orientation to physical reality. "Did it work?" she asked, her voice hoarse. Pulse's lights pulsed in a pattern she had never seen before. The collective consensus has shifted. The warship has been instructed to stand down. The dissident faction has been reprioritized. On the view screen, the Salfori warship was already retreating from the station. The immediate threat had passed. The collective requests continuation of the Joint Research Initiative, Pulse continued, with expanded parameters. Expanded how? Dr. Okafor asked. Beyond the void microbe threat, the collective has recognized value in human cognitive processes that complement our own. They propose a long-term exchange of knowledge and methodologies. Dr. Chen could barely contain his excitement. "Captain, do you understand what this means? They're proposing an ongoing cultural and scientific exchange. This goes beyond diplomatic relations. It's civilizational integration." Vasquez smiled tiredly. "One step at a time, Doctor. First, let's solve our immediate problem." In the days that followed, the combined research team made rapid progress. The void microbes weren't consuming space-time. They were attempting to establish resonance patterns with specific electromagnetic frequencies. By adjusting those frequencies, the team was able to guide the microbes away from populated space toward regions where their unique properties could be studied safely. 1 month after the initial contact, Captain Vasquez stood before the United Earth Council, presenting the draft of the first human Salfori Cooperative Treaty. The document established protocols for ongoing scientific collaboration, cultural exchange, and mutual defense, an unprecedented alliance between two fundamentally different civilizations. The Salfori approached us expecting to find either a threat to neutralize or a tool to exploit, Vasquez explained to the Council. Instead, they found partners who approached problems from angles their evolutionary path hadn't explored. And we found partners whose precision and analytical capabilities complement our adaptability and intuition. Admiral Santos, once skeptical, now nodded in approval. And the technology exchange. Proceeding cautiously on both sides, Vasquez replied. The Salfori are as concerned about sharing certain technologies as we are. But the foundation of trust has been established. And this direct neural connection you experienced with their collective. Another council member asked, "Do they expect this to become standard practice?" Vasquez smiled slightly. "Actually, they've expressed interest in exploring our preference for individual conversation. They find our one-to-one communication inefficient but fascinating. Dr. Chen is developing a cultural exchange program that will allow selected Salfori to experience human interaction methods while humans learn to navigate collective consciousness spaces." As the council meeting concluded, Vasquez stepped out onto the observation deck overlooking Earth. The planet looked peaceful from orbit, its swirling clouds concealing the complex, often contradictory nature of human civilization. In the distance, a Salfori diplomatic vessel maintained a respectful orbit, its living metal hull pulsing with internal light. Dr. Chen joined her at the viewport. The Sulfuri linguistic team sent another request. They want to understand human poetry, particularly our use of metaphor and symbolism. Vasquez laughed softly. That might be more challenging than solving the void microbe crisis. That's exactly what makes it valuable, Chen replied. They recognize that what seemed like chaos to them is actually creativity. What appeared inefficient contains unexpected connections their logical structures wouldn't discover. Vasquez gazed at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. Humanity had prepared for first contact with advanced alien civilizations by building weapons, establishing defense protocols, anticipating conflict. Instead, they had found their place in the galactic community not through superior firepower or defensive capabilities, but through something uniquely human, the willingness to embrace uncertainty, to adapt rather than dominate, to negotiate rather than demand. You know, she said quietly, the Sulfuri still don't understand why we chose to negotiate when we could have retreated or attempted to fight. What did you tell them? Chen asked. That humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our physical capabilities, Vasquez replied. It's our ability to imagine possibilities beyond the evident, to find connections between seemingly unrelated concepts, to see potential allies where others might see only threats. In the vast darkness of space, the human and Sulfuri vessels orbited Earth in tandem, different in almost every conceivable way, yet united by a shared future that neither could have predicted. The void microbe crisis had been merely the beginning. Together, they would face challenges greater than either civilization could address alone, combining precision with adaptability, calculation with intuition, certainty with imagination. And in that unexpected partnership lay the true power of humanity's approach to the universe. Not conquest, not submission, but the radical proposition that difference itself could be strength when founded on mutual respect and genuine cooperation.